Hello, everyone. Welcome to my live session. Before I start, I will wait for a few people to join and also for my team to join. So, team, as and when you join, could you please confirm if you can see me clearly and whether I'm audible or not as well? Okay, I can see some people joining in on YouTube. Team, could you please confirm if I'm live both on Facebook and YouTube, and then I can begin with the session? All right, there seem to be some messages coming in. Okay, it looks like I am clear and audible. So without further ado, I'm going to begin with the session. So hello once again. Welcome to my live session for today. For those of you who haven't already seen the 15 odd live sessions that I've done previously, my name is Navya Sikka and I am a licensed immigration advisor for New Zealand working with AJV Global. So I do come live on Thursdays, alternating with my colleagues to connect with all our viewers and followers who are interested in understanding the different ways in which one could potentially migrate to New Zealand or the kind of opportunities that the country offers to its migrants. AJV Global is an education and migration consultancy, and we do specialize in providing end to end assistance on all matters pertaining to migration. In fact, we do have a team of about 8 licensed immigration advisors, making us one of the fewer companies to have that many LIAs under a single roof. And what that essentially means is that we indeed are a one stop shop to address all your queries and provide you with accurate guidance around your plans for migration to New Zealand. 3 of my colleagues, in fact, recently obtained their licenses. So that's Namrata, Virginia, and Neha Sehgal. So just a shout out to them. Congrats on that. 2 of them are based in New Zealand, while one is in India, and they all also happen to be ex-immigration officers. So that's indeed a double whammy. Now, before I begin the session for today, I would like to show you all my license card. So this license here essentially allows me to provide all of you with immigration advice across all visa categories, and of course holds me equally accountable for the advice that I provide to all of you. Now, I know once I begin the session, a lot of you may have multiple queries that you would want answered during the course of the session. So I will definitely endeavor to answer all of your questions. However, my only ask of you is to mention your contact number along with the query that you do post in the comments section, because we would love to connect with you once the session is over and provide greater clarity to your question in more detail. So if you want your questions answered and you're not already an AJV client, then please do leave your contact details or your question may just go unanswered. Those of you who are AJV clients, as is protocol, do mention that you're AJV clients, and it would be great if you could also mention who you've been in touch with so that I could get out that information specific to your case as well. So in our previous sessions, we've spoken a lot about the study and settle pathway, where essentially you do pursue a course in New Zealand. You get a post-study work visa, you find employment, and then you go on to lodge your residence visa. We've also spoken about various courses, one could pursue in specific industries, and we've even had some amazing institutes from New Zealand host webinars in conjunction with us for prospective students. But I do understand that for a lot of you, studying may not be the most viable option, and there could be a number of reasons for that. You may be in a job that you're not quite ready to leave yet. You may not have the funds to sponsor your education in the country, and studying abroad can be an expensive affair. Or you may just not be in that phase of life where or you may be in that phase of life where you feel like you're just done with studies and you wouldn't want to go back to that, and you're more inclined to working or just continuing to work. Now, for people who are looking to find work in New Zealand and thereafter want to convert that work visa to a residence visa, the skilled migrant category job search visa is probably your best bet. Now, New Zealand does have several work visa categories, but for a majority of them, you do require a job offer before you enter the country. So you need to apply for your work visa with that job offer in hand already. And that's where the process gets stalled for most people, because naturally it's a struggle to find a job in a country that you're not even residing in. If you're not in the same country, you obviously do not have the liberty to even go for a personal interview. employers are also wary of supporting work visa applications because it could mean extensive checks on their organization and extensive documentation as well. They would even be required to meet the labor market test, wherein it is necessary for them to demonstrate to the immigration officers that they tried hiring or recruiting or even training New Zealanders before offering the job to a foreigner. And on top of it all, the processing timeframe can be lengthy, and employers may not want to wait that long, especially if they have skilled workers available within the country already with valid work rights. Now, one way to circumvent all of these obstacles and to enter the country on a work visa without a job offer in hand is through the work to residence pathway of the skilled migrant category job search visa. This visa allows you to reside in the country for a period of 1 year to find yourself a job within that time, which pays you at least the median wage in New Zealand. And that will give you the chance to immediately convert the work visa to a residence visa. I do believe now that 1 year is a substantial amount of time for someone who does have a good amount of previous work experience to find themselves a skilled job. Moreover, it is an open work visa, so that does permit you to work for any employer in any location and in any job role, thus broadening your prospects. So the procedure of lodging the skilled migrant category visa involves lodging an expression of interest first, if you do meet the 160 points criteria, which could be based on a number of factors such as your age, your previous work experience, your qualifications, etc. Your expression of interest is then submitted to a pool of EOIs from which Immigration New Zealand makes selections every 2 weeks. So if you do have, if you are meeting the 160 point mark or above, it's likely that your EOI will be selected. And at this point, the immigration officer will carry out preliminary checks of the EOI to see whether the claim to points seems to be accurate or not. And accordingly, they will then issue you an invitation to apply. Now, once you have received an invitation to apply, you do have approximately 4 months to lodge your application with all of its documentation. Now, since you are applying without a job offer in hand, Immigration New Zealand will defer the decision on your residency and test your eligibility for the job search visa instead. Now, within 14 to 18 months from that point of time, you will have your work visa, and with that, you will have the ability to enter the country. Now, the next question would be, what are the kind of profiles that are likely to be eligible for this type of a visa? Well, if you're in your 30s or 40s, you've completed a master's qualification, and you have about 8 to 10 years of work experience at MNCs or in professional fields such as ICT, engineering, construction, supply chain logistics, even food technology, or work experience even as a chef, and if you're married and your partner has at least a bachelor's qualification, then you do have a very good chance at qualifying for this visa. So if you do feel that you meet some of the above criteria or all of the above criteria that I just listed, you should definitely get in touch with us so that we can proceed to assess your resumes and advise you of your score. Now, while you all might find different kinds of points calculators available online, please do bear in mind that these are not at all accurate. Immigration policies do have a lot of clauses, and then they have a lot of sub-clauses, which online calculators are unable to take into account, thereby showing you an inflated picture of your points. So therefore, the best way to get an accurate picture is by approaching a licensed immigration advisor, which AJV has an abundance of. So if you're keen on having a detailed consultation with any one of us, you can also visit our website and book an appointment with us, and we would be happy to provide you with comprehensive information with regards to your plans for migration. Now, before I conclude my talk on this visa category, I would like to outline some of the benefits of choosing the work to residence pathway over the study plus settle pathway, particularly in the current context of the pandemic. So first of all, the processing time frame is relatively longer to that of a student visa. And while some may view that as a negative, I do feel that it could be quite a positive, as it also means that it will grant you the time that is needed to stay comfortably within your home country and allow enough time for the pandemic to subside and life to return to normalcy till the time that you actually do have to travel to New Zealand. Secondly, it's likely to lead to the grant of residency sooner and at a much lesser cost. The processing time frame for a residence visa is approximately the same, regardless of whether you are onshore or offshore. You will have the same waiting period even if you apply for a residence visa once you've completed your studies while you're on your post-study work visa. Moreover, studying in New Zealand for international students can be quite an investment, and is usually suggested to those who do not meet any other pathway of entry to New Zealand. So tuition fees can be approximately 30 to 40,000 New Zealand dollars for a master's course, and the 1 year fees also has to be paid upfront at the time of the approval of the student visa. So you can avoid this cost entirely by proceeding with the SMC job search visa and diverting those funds to the visa application fees or to any immigration advice fees, which you would also ultimately have to go through, even if you do go down the study pathway. Third, of course, most importantly, the immigration industry is very dynamic, and it is therefore best to strike when the iron is hot. So if you are in a good space right now and you're meeting the criteria for the SMC job search visa, it would be prudent to make good use of this opportunity, lest instructions were to become unfavorable and the points criteria were to increase. Fourth, of course, getting residency sooner would also mean that you can avail the benefits of being a resident within a few months of entering the country, rather than spending 2 to 3 years in the country as a non-resident via the study to settle pathway. So you will have access to subsidized healthcare and education costs, and therefore, once your residency is approved, and if you wish to upskill yourself, you can always pursue studies, and you will have to pay much lesser of a price as opposed to paying as an international student. So overall, there are a lot of benefits, of applying for this visa, especially in the current times. So if you feel like you would have a chance or would like to give this a shot, please do get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to show you the way forward. So with that, I'm just going to see if any questions have come in, and I will begin to answer them as well. All right, so we've got some highs in there. Hi butterflies, hi Bhushan, hi Bhupesh. If you all have any queries, please feel free to paste them in the comment section, and I'd be happy to answer them. So we do have a message from Sandesh, who has written, what are the chances of borders opening in New Zealand? Sandesh, it would be great if you could also leave your contact number so that we can speak to you post the session and understand what your what is the purpose for you wanting to travel to New Zealand, and help you out with that as well. But the chances of the border opening in New Zealand, it's not a matter of if they'll open. Of course they will. It's just a matter of when. So right now, of course, the government is also facing immense pressure to open up the borders, especially for international students. Otherwise, it will have an adverse impact on their economy. New Zealand is a relatively isolated country. It relies a lot on its, on the migrant population. So it won't be feasible for them to keep the country closed to its migrants, for a very lengthy period. So they have managed to contain the COVID situation very well. So it's just a matter of time, I would say. Hopefully, in the beginning of next year, they should open up the borders. And yeah, I guess you'll just have to stay posted and keep watching our live sessions to get the latest updates. And also, please do leave your number once again. All right, so we have a question from Bhupesh Nayak, who's saying, do you recruit for restaurant? Bhupesh, we are a migration consultancy, so we provide advice, around different visa categories that you could perhaps be eligible for in order to gain entry into New Zealand. We do not provide offers of employment, and we do not provide formal job assistance as of now at this stage. So I'm not sure, if your query is really accurate to this live session, but feel free to leave your contact number and we can have a chat with you after this. All right, so there is a message from Nimesh. Team, if you could confirm if Nimesh is our client. I can't see any message yet, but Nimesh has written, when will the dependent visa start again? Any idea would be appreciated. All right, I do understand that there were a couple of students who traveled to New Zealand before the COVID situation, and before the borders were closed, and as a result their partners were perhaps still outside of the country and were not permitted to travel then once the borders closed down. And I know they are really struggling with that period of separation. However, as of now, there is no news on when the borders are opening for partners of students, especially partners who weren't already residing in New Zealand. So there is no news about that. However, we are hopeful that they will open the borders up soon. The government is of course really empathetic towards all of these different categories of visa applicants. And they do understand that families would also want to reunite, so they are empathetic about that, and they will take that into consideration. And hopefully, like I said, borders should hopefully start opening up by early next year. All right, we do have a question from Rajat Sachdeva, who has written, "Hello, I'm an AJV client. I got offer for MSc in construction management from AUT for Feb 2021. What if the borders are not open till that time? Will this course be given online or will it be deferred?" All right. Hi, Rajat. Thanks for your query and for also choosing to work with us. We truly appreciate it. So that's great that you have an offer already from AUT for the Feb intake. Now, I would recommend you to just stay in touch with your study advisor, because yes, a lot of universities and colleges alike are starting to offer an online to on-campus mode of studies, wherein you may be permitted to study one or two subjects online, and then once the borders do open, you can pursue the remaining part of your course on campus, so that you're still eligible for the post-study work visa. And I think that's a really great option for people who are stuck right now and are unable to travel, because you, of course, number one, to study online, you don't really need to apply for a visa. You can study online while still working in your current organization if you are employed. So you don't have to leave your job either. And you'll be saving up on living expenses as well. A lot of the colleges are also, because the course is being part of the course is being offered online, they're also offering a lot of discounts. So it's definitely something that I think one could consider. We do in fact have a client called Yogesh, who has started the online program at the University of Waikato, and he just has amazing reviews for it. So it seems to be working really well. And like I said, just stay in touch with your study advisor, and she will let you know if this particular course is being offered online partly or not. Rajat, I hope that I was able to answer your query, and thanks a lot for joining in the live session once again. All right. There is a message from Kapil, who has a bit of a complaint and has said that we've not contacted him for a query that was raised a month ago. Kapil, it would be great if you could leave your number here as well, so we could have our team connect with you right away. I definitely apologize if there was a miss on our team's part and we weren't able to reach out to you. However, we will make that a priority. So please do leave your number so we can connect with you right away. Team, if you could also check whether Kapil had, messaged us or tried to contact us, and it would be great if we could have someone reach out to him right away. All right, we have a question from Nawaz. I do see queries coming in, but some of you are not leaving your numbers, your contact numbers. So please do leave that so that we can connect with you. This is a public portal. I will only be able to give you a very short answer. It'll be concise. It may not be very detailed. So it would do best for you to leave your contact details so we can connect with you post the session. So Nawaz Hussain has written, "Need more information on SMC, please." Nawaz, this whole session actually was on SMC. I think I was able to give a good overview of the essential criteria or the essential aspects of it. However, if you do want to have a more detailed chat, like I said, you can always book a consultation with us. You can always visit our website and search for one of the licensed immigration advisors, and you can book an appointment. Or, like I said, just leave your number and we will reach out to you. So we have a message from Sheetal Das, who has written, "Are teachers on the SMC list?" So Sheetal is apparently an AJV client, and Sheetal, it seems that you are working with Mubaraka, who's an amazing advisor. So I'm sure she's really working well with you around that. Now, with regards to your query, the skilled migrant category is not a list, it is a visa category. So most occupations, people in most occupations can apply, provided they are meeting the 160 points criteria, all right, which, like I said, is calculated on the basis of your age, your work experience, your previous qualification, etc. And you need to be earning at least the minimum, the median wage in New Zealand, which is 25.50 New Zealand dollars per hour. All right. So if you are meeting those two criteria, and you have a job offer that's paying you that much, then you will be, even as a teacher, you will be able to apply for the skilled migrant category residence visa. All right. So your question, I think you were a little confused around this, but hopefully if you were to watch back on this session, you'll get a little bit of a better clarity on what the skilled migrant category visa is. All right, we have a query from, just a second. All right, we have a query from Amit, who has written, can one get resident visa in white if one has 160 points but no job offer? Amit, so this is actually what the session was all about. It was about the skilled migrant category job search visa. All right. So for the residents, for direct residents, you do require 160 points and a job offer or a 2 years course, which leads to master's or a doctorate in New Zealand. All right. However, if you do not have a job offer, you can still get an invite and you will be assessed against the criteria for a skilled migrant category job search visa. All right. So I'm just briefly summarizing it now. You will get, so, you know, if you are meeting the 160 points, you can still go ahead with the expression of interest. The decision on your residency will be deferred. You will instead be issued a 1-year open work visa to go into the country to find yourself a job offer, check that second requirement, and then convert your work visa to a resident visa. So yes, it is possible. All right. So Nawaz Hussain, I think Nawaz had a query previously as well. And Nawaz, you did not leave your number. So I would request you to leave your number. Otherwise, your queries will not be answered, like I did mention in the start of the session. Rajbir is a client of ours. In fact, you've written that I'm a casting director and an associate producer in Mumbai, 12 years of experience in the entertainment industry. Am I eligible for SMC pathway, which you just mentioned right now? Rajbir, I may not be able to give you advice, you know, on the basis of your profile entirely right now, publicly. You know, when you're calculating your points, there may, I'm just you know, saying that right now, but there may be a bit of struggle with regards to your points for work experience, because like I mentioned, Immigration New Zealand does have a lot of clauses and sub clauses about you know, what kind of work experience you can claim points for and cannot. So if you want to have a chat about this, you know, just let Mariam know and I can connect with you, and you know, you can perhaps book a consultation as well and we can talk about it in more detail. However, you know, if you are, I do understand that you were looking at courses and you were looking at the study pathway. So for people who are not meeting the points criteria, the best way to go about it is still the study and settle pathway. You know, it will give you a good amount of time to in New Zealand on a post-study work visa to find yourself a job. And once you do get a job offer, you get 50 more points. So, you know, you're in a good position then to apply for your skilled migrant category visa. All right, I hope I was able to answer your query briefly. Thanks a lot for joining in on the live session and posting your question as well. Okay, let me see if my team has posted anything. Okay, they do seem to have. So Arunava has written, I'm having 10 years of experience in accounting and taxation in companies like PwC, Deloitte, HSBC, with masters and bachelors with IELTS general. Am I eligible for SMC visa? So Arunava, you know, like I just like whatever I just said to Rajbir, I think the same thing applies here. I will have to look at your resume in detail because I will have to go through your job description as well. I would also like to see your partner's CV too, in order to get a better understanding. So it's not something that I would want to do, sitting here publicly, on a live session. But this was just more about giving you an understanding of the kind of people who can qualify and who can't. If you do feel like, you may have a chance, please send your CVs across and we can always then connect with you. All right. So we do have a query from Pankaj Sharma. And he's written, I'm Pankaj Sharma. I've completed 3 years diploma in mechanical engineering after 12th. Presently, I'm working as a presently, I'm working as a senior engineer in a US-based MNC in India. You have a total of 10 years work experience. What are the options to settle in New Zealand? You also have a BTech at MIT. Auckland. You've applied for BTech at MIT Auckland. Kindly suggest BTech will be for 2 years under credit transfer policy. Pankaj, I'm not sure what your question is. Is your question whether you qualify for a skill migrant category visa? If that is your question, the fact that you're an engineer and you have 10 years of work experience, it's really good because the occupation of engineers does fall under the long-term skill shortage list. So it's quite likely that you can claim points for 10 years of work experience as well. So if that's something that you would want to know more about, I guess you're already in touch with AJV. I'm not sure. It would be great if you could let us know who you're in touch with, and they could perhaps assist you in sending your CVs across to one of the LIs on our team, and we can do an assessment and then get back to you. Vince Yap has asked about physiotherapists. Are you able to help us work and migrate to New Zealand? Vince Yap, thanks a lot for your query. However, you've not left your number. But just a brief answer to this, physiotherapists actually do fall under the long-term skill shortage list of New Zealand. However, in order to work as a physiotherapist, you do need to be registered with the Physio Board of New Zealand. So, and the registration process can be a bit lengthy and a bit complex. So ideally, what I would suggest in those cases is to go for, a course in perhaps health science or health management or public health. And that will allow you to enter the country and simultaneously work on your registration process. And if for some reason the registration doesn't work out, you can still find career opportunities, in the public health sector as well, and go on to apply for residency. So that is one of the options. However, if you want more details around, what's the best way to migrate to New Zealand, I think it would be best to leave your number so we can connect with you post this session. All right, so we have a query from Pavan Singh Chauhan, who has written that he has completed hotel management degree in 2009, has 5 years of teaching experience in hotel management college, also completed masters in hotel management from last 5 years. You also have your own bakery. Is there any work opportunity in New Zealand or Australia? Pavan, thanks a lot for sharing your profile with us. It's a great profile. There are plenty of work opportunities in New Zealand. However, it can be difficult to just get a job offer, when you're not based in the country. All right. And if you're not meeting the 160 points, then in those cases, it's best to go down the study and settle route, which will essentially mean that, you connect with us. One of our advisors will sit down with you, assess your profile, understand what it is that you're looking to build your career in, suggest a good college and a good course to you in line with your previous work ex and qualifications, and that will just permit you to enter the country on a student visa. All right. From there on, it is pretty simple, because you will get a post-study work visa, and if you do pursue a master's course, you can get a 3 years post-study work visa. So that's ample amount of time for you to find a job in that field, and from there on apply for your residency as well. Right. So I would suggest you just leave your number so that we can get in touch with you and take things forward. All right, Girish Nair has written, who are the individuals for border exception criteria? Does nurse cap come under that? Thank you, Girish. I'm not sure if you are in touch with us. You've not stated that. However, to briefly answer your question, yes, they can potentially come under the border exception. If you are an internationally qualified nurse who is invited to come to New Zealand from, you've been invited to come to New Zealand by the Nursing Council of New Zealand, and if you are enrolled in a CAP program which starts before 31st December 2020. All right. So that's the criteria briefly. However, if you want to talk in more detail, I would recommend leaving a number, because these things can be a little bit tricky and complicated, and you don't want to just waste your money, lodging an expression of interest for a border exception unless you're absolutely sure that you meet the criteria. So I would also like to mention here that at AJV we do provide assistance with all kinds of visa categories. So it's not just studies, or it's not just residence or work visas, but even entrepreneur and investor visas. So those of you who are looking to, say, start a business in New Zealand, or are looking to invest in New Zealand, I think you should definitely connect with us, because there are some great opportunities to apply for visas via this pathway and then gain residency as well. All right, I'm just going to flip to YouTube to see if there's anything there. Okay, there is a question from Prashu, who has written, hi, how positive are you on New Zealand border opening in 2021, at least by July? AJV already has my contact information. So thanks, Prashu, for already speaking to us. That's great to know that, you are kind of figuring out your options for migration to New Zealand, and that you also got in touch with us and found us suitable enough to provide you with advice. So with regards to how positive I am about the borders opening, at least in July, I would say I'm extremely positive about the borders opening, at least in July. Like I did mention, I don't think New Zealand can afford to close the borders down for that long a period. They do highly, rely upon the revenue that they generate from students who come into the country. I'm pretty sure that, if not in Feb, then the borders will most definitely open up by July. There is another question from a Facebook profile with a name that I cannot pronounce. But the question is, which is the best master's program in New Zealand for chemistry students to find job easily after completion? You haven't left your number. It would be great if you could leave your number. However, there are multiple options to choose from, like drug discovery, polymer science, forensic science, etc. But it would be best for you to connect with one of our study advisors so that they can guide you better around it after having reviewed your previous qualification and subjects as well. So I would recommend you to leave your number so we can get in touch with you. All right, we have a question from Nitin, who has written, when do you reckon offshore files which already got an invitation to apply will start to process, and case officers will start to assign. Is it true those who are on SMC category visa here are given 2 years work visa extension rather than resident visa? Um, do you think SMC point system will change after elections? Well, Nitin, I'm not sure. I don't think you are an AJV client. It would be great if you could leave your number so we can get in touch with you. I'm not sure if you're one of those people who has already received an invitation to apply. If that is the case, I would recommend you getting in touch with us, because it's best to have a licensed immigration advisor's assistance, because we do have direct contacts with Immigration New Zealand, where we do have a hotline. They respond to us within 24 hours, so we can get the latest update, or what exactly, we can know what exactly is happening on your file, or whether it's been assigned to a case officer or not, with greater ease. So I would recommend you leaving your number so we can help you out with that. With regards to your second question, is it true those who are on SMC category here are given 2 years work visa extension rather than resident visa? I'm not sure what you're talking about exactly. Not sure if you're talking about the SMC job search visa. That is a 1 year visa. You don't really get extensions for that. You do have to either lodge, go ahead and lodge an essential skills work visa if it's expiring, or you should just convert it to your residency if you do, meet the criteria for residency. And with regards to the SMC point system will change after elections, I can't really say. I think we'll just have to wait and watch. However, it's tough enough for people to meet the 160 points, so I do feel that they'll keep it at that for the time being. Vince Yap has another question regarding physiotherapy. However, Vince, like I said, I would like for you to leave your number so we can connect with you and provide you with advice. Otherwise, I won't be able to answer your questions henceforth. Dipanshu has sent in a message saying, "Hey, I'm an international student in New Zealand. I'm about to complete my course next month. Kindly advise me for any other essential skill courses which I can pursue, as you know now it is tough to get in a skilled job." Hi, Dipanshu. Thanks a lot for posting your query. I am going to give you the New Zealand, New Zealand office's toll-free number. So I would definitely request you to contact them, and they will help you out with your query. If you have, I don't really know what course you've completed. In order to qualify post-study work visa, again, you will have to do a course which is at a higher level than what you've already pursued. So we will have to figure out those details, and also what what you previously studied, and accordingly advise you on what is the best course for you. So the number is 0800 696977. That is our New Zealand toll-free number. So you can always call on that number, and you will have a very well-equipped team catering to you and answering your queries. And for those of you who are outside of New Zealand, who are in India or other South Asian countries, you can always contact us on our toll-free India toll-free number, which is 1800 103 6525. All right. Nikhil Yadav has written whether the work experience in a public sector enterprise is counted, partially counted, or is it totally disregarded while calculating points? Nikhil, I would suggest you to send your CV, and if you're married, then your wife's CV as well, to info@ajvglobal.com. And then we can have a look, and we can assist you with the points calculation, and then take things forward accordingly. Thank you for leaving your contact number as well. All right, Rajbir has written, "Thank you. I'm in touch with Mariam, booking a session with you soon." Great, Rajbir. I think that's a brilliant idea, because I'll be able to have a very detailed chat with you then about residence and work opportunities, etc. You must also understand that study counselors are actually unlicensed. They're exempt from the need to be licensed, and but they can only provide advice on student visas. Talking about anything other than that will be outside of their jurisdiction, and they can be held culpable for that. So that's why I think it's best then to book consultations with licensed immigration advisors. So you can talk about, even if it's about the course, we can speak about that, or how to proceed once you are in New Zealand and then on a post-study work visa. What are your work opportunities? How to convert that work visa to residency, etc. So looking forward to speaking with you. Okay, there seem to be some people leaving in their numbers. That's great. We will definitely reach out to those of you who have left your numbers, and providing you with more detailed advice as well. All right, we have a question from Amrit, who has written, what about gaps? I've completed my bachelor's in 2015 and working in a relevant field, want to join master's in IT. So I'm not sure if you're talking about a study gap or if you weren't doing anything, in a certain period. But it's not an issue as such. We'll just have to speak to you and understand what exactly was the gap, what exactly is the gap that you're talking about. What were you doing during that period? And that's something that can then be explained to the immigration officer, and that is also what we, as advisors, are supposed to assist you with, in drafting up good cover letters which can justify any gaps or justify your reasons for pursuing a course or getting back to studies, etc. So if you're worried about that, I would say don't be. Just leave your number so we can get in touch with you and help you out with this. So Hari Ram has asked for suggestions on some universities for masters in civil engineering in New Zealand with less fees. Hari Ram, you've not left your number. I would request you to please leave your number. However, I think you can look at courses in AUT and University of Canterbury as well, where the fees would be around 15 lakhs Indian rupees. So that those are some options that you can look at, but it would be best for you to leave your number so one of our study advisors can get in touch with you. Thank you. All right. You've written, hi Navya. So this is from Wasim Ahmad, which is, hi Navya. This is Wasim. I'm having 10 years of experience in telecommunication industry and B.Tech in ECE in 2007. Right now I'm working with main contractor of Vodafone from 7 years. I want to settle in New Zealand with my family. So what is the best option available for me? Thanks a lot for joining in the live session today, Wasim. And you also seem to have a great profile. We can definitely assess your profile for the skill migrant category job search visa, or alternatively, you can look at the study and settle pathway. But since you've left your contact details, our team will connect with you and take things forward. We will perhaps request you to submit your CVs to us as well. So you can do that, and then, we can take the process forward with you. So we have another message from Anus Prasant, who's written, my husband has got 20 years IT network experience with 3 years polytechnic diploma. Is he eligible for SMC visa? Anus, I will not be able to provide complete advice around that. However, it is important to also, demonstrate to Immigration New Zealand that you are suitably qualified for the role that, for the work experience that you have gained prior to having gained that work experience. And usually what they would want to see is a bachelor's degree. So it can depend, and I think I'd be able to give you a better answer around that if you submit your CVs to us. So your husband's CV and your CV as well. We'll be able to do a proper assessment and calculation of whether you indeed meet the points criteria. So if you could mail your CV and your partner CV as well at info@ajvglobal.com, then we can take a look. Thank you. Yash Patel has written any update for the border opening because my score will expire soon, so I am worried about my future. Yash, I'm not sure what score you're talking about. Is it your SMC points, or if it's your SMC points, you can actually lodge an expression of interest anyway. Immigration New Zealand is still they're still accepting the lodgement of expression of interest, even though the selection has been suspended. So I'm not really sure what your query is all about. So if you could leave your number, we can connect with you and then understand your question better. All right. Pankaj Sharma has written, thanks for your reply. Currently, I'm in touch with AJV Lydia regarding study visa. Could you please assign someone to discuss my profile for SMC job search visa? Pankaj, surely we will do that. Team, can you please take a note of Pankaj's case and forward it to one of the licensed immigration advisors? Pankaj, we will reach out to you then. All right, we do have a question from Amrit again, who's written, how about study gap? I've completed my bachelor's in 2015 and I'm working in relevant field till now. Wanted to join master's degree, or is there any possibility for PR as well? Um, Relevant field. Amrit, okay, so if you're what you're trying to say is that you did not study since 2015 but have been working since 2015, Immigration New Zealand actually won't even consider it as a gap because you were doing something constructive. You were working in that time period, so that shouldn't be an issue at all. Like I said, in order to do an assessment for the skilled migrant category visa, we will, need you to submit your CVs and perhaps even book a consultation with licensed immigration advisors. So if you are keen on that, I would definitely recommend you to do that because it's always best to know about your overall options and then accordingly take the next step forward. All right. So if that is something you are interested in, and if you are already connected with AJV or you do have a study advisor, then you can definitely ask them to connect you to a licensed immigration advisor. Otherwise, please leave your number in case you haven't, and we will reach out to you. All right, Amrit has left his number, so that's great. Amrit, don't worry about your queries being unanswered or anything of the sort. We will reach out to you and help you out. All right, then we do have a couple of questions from Riddhi Bajaj and Yash Patel regarding the borders opening. Everyone's a little worried about when the borders are going to open and if they're going to open for the February intake or not. I think both Riddhi and Bajaj are looking at student visas. So Riddhi and Yash, like I said, we are hopeful that the borders will open soon. You will just have to kind of be patient and stay updated on the current situation by, of course, attending these live sessions and also staying in touch with a consultancy such as ours. And we will keep you posted on what is the best possible way to of course perhaps tackle the situation, because like I did previously mention, a lot of universities and colleges are also offering an online to on campus mode of studies. So if that's something that you would like to look at and you're scared, you don't want to waste too much of your time, etc., it would be great for you to look at those options, because that would just mean that you can start studying in effect from February itself. And once you do come into New Zealand, it will also shorten the duration of your study there, which will mean that you will get your post-study work visa sooner as well. So there are a lot of benefits to it. And if you're really worried about this, I would recommend you to just leave your numbers. We'll get in touch with you, have you connected to some good study advisors who will keep you posted. So Kanwal Zahid has written, how much would be the expenses if I want to immigrate to New Zealand? So Kanwal, I mean, it really depends on which visa category you're looking at. So I can't really answer that. But For the study and settle pathway, of course, you'll also have to look at the tuition fees, which can be anywhere between 20 to 30,000 New Zealand dollars, depending upon the level of your course. You also, of course, have to keep in mind the living expenses, which is another 15,000 New Zealand dollars for a year. For the skilled migrant category job search visa, I think you only have to show about 3,000 New Zealand dollars with the visa application. So it really depends on what visa category you're looking at. And, I would need more details for that. So for that, I would request you to leave your number so we can connect with you. Thank you. Amrit has left his number. Thank you very much for that, Amrit. We will connect with you. Zed Khan has written, kindly say something regarding SMC offshore non-priority applications. As we have seen, it can take up to 2 years these days. Kindly, can you explain why INC is taking so long in respect of SMC offshore applications? Thanks a lot, Z Khan. I guess this also goes to show how much, New Zealand is in demand, with migrants as a destination that they would want to migrate to and, obtain residency of. That's essentially why there would be, a backlog and, in essence, then the processing time frame also increases. However, I think it's best to see the current processing timeframes from the website because they do update that regularly. And as of now, 90% of the applications are being decided within 18 months. It shouldn't really take longer than that unless there are some issues with your application, such as medicals or some concerns they've identified with the employer, etc. All right. So I guess, one can't really do much. These things do take time. There are a lot of checks that go into residence applications. So one simply has to be patient. And yeah, that's all I can say on that. All right. The next question is from Siddeshwar, who's written, "Hi, madam. Is there any opportunity for homeopathy doctors age 31?" So Siddeshwar, thanks a lot for your query. For doctors, it can be a little bit complicated to immediately start working in New Zealand because you do have to go through a registration process, which can be a bit tricky. You do have to get registered with the Medical Council of New Zealand in order to practice as a doctor. And most people may not meet the eligibility criteria to directly get registration, which will in essence mean that you will have to sit for an exam. And also, one of the components of this registration process is also to, get an internship as a resident medical officer. And this can be pretty difficult because it's very competitive and there are limited seats. So it can be tricky to, practice as a doctor in New Zealand, which is why we then suggest alternate, non-medical courses such as in public health or, health management or health science that, you can perhaps consider. However, you have left your number, so we can get in touch with you and talk to you a little bit more about this in detail. Thank you so much for joining in on the live session. So we have a message from Sandesh, who's written, "What are the best PhD courses for getting quick job and residence visa in New Zealand? I have already completed Masters in Business Studies, MBAs from home country." Sandesh, thanks a lot for posting your query. With regards to PhD courses, once again, it can be a little bit tricky to, enroll yourself in a PhD course because, of course, first you have to prepare a research proposal. If it is in an area of future growth in New Zealand, that's an added benefit. And of course, if you have publications already, that too is an added benefit. But then you will have to, connect with, of course, you'll have to select the university that you want to complete the PhD, pursue the PhD course from, and then, request for a list of supervisors. And then you will first have to get in touch with the supervisor and they should be willing to work with you. And that's when the admission process begins. So it can be a bit of a lengthy process. I think the procedure in University of Waikato is probably a little different, where you can start the process without first having contacted a supervisor. However, it does take time and effort, and you shouldn't really discount the option of doing another master's just because you have already done one. We have, represented a lot of clients who have already completed a master's offshore to go for another master's in New Zealand. The key to that is simple. I mean, it should be relevant to your previous qualification, but it should not be repetitive. So as long as you can demonstrate to Immigration New Zealand that you do have a valid or genuine reason for pursuing another master's course in New Zealand, which of course we as advisors will help you out with, it shouldn't be a problem. So that is also an option that you can consider. You have left your number, so we will get in touch with you and talk to you about all possible options for you. So we have a message from Sandesh, who's written, as my wife has completed level 7 business studies course and has been working in post-study work visa in Auckland. That's not much of a question, Sandesh. So if you have a question, please feel free to paste that because it seems to be more of a statement right now. But leave your question in the comments section, or just leave your contact number because anyways, I'm going to be winding up now. Then we will get back to you. All right, we do have a question from Honey, who's written, my wife has a BTech in dairy and 10 years of work experience. In dairy, any jobs? Honey, it's not that simple to get a job in New Zealand without actually already being based in the country, like I have said repeatedly. So it's a great way to enter the country and then find yourself a job, however, is via the study and settle pathway. So if she's done a BTech, she could always go for a postgraduate or a master's level course, and that will also give her a 3-year post-study work visa once she's completed her course, and that is an open work visa, so she can easily find jobs once she does have a qualification from New Zealand. All right, so if you want more details around this, please do leave your contact details and we will be happy to get in touch with you. All right, I think time is up now. So with that, I'm just going to wind this session now. To those of you whose questions are unanswered, please do leave your numbers so we can get in touch with you and we can directly speak with you as well. I think that would be even better to have that one-on-one opportunity to talk to you. And thank you so much, all of you, for joining in the session today and learning more about the Skilled Migrant Category Job Search Visa. Please do stay connected to us, and we will be reaching out to most of you. So do pick up your calls, speak to us, tell us what your queries are, and we will be happy to assist you. We will be live again next week on Thursday. I think my colleague Tulika Mehra will be coming on live, so do attend that as well, and we will see you next time then. Thank you.